Hi, welcome to MSAD 61. My name is Heather LaForge. I'm your transportation trainer. We're going to go over a pre-trip inspection on a Thomas school bus today. The first step in our pre-trip inspection is to approach the school bus. When we're approaching this school bus, we want to check the tires, making sure that they're not squatty or uneven. And we're also checking underneath the bus to make sure that there are no fluids or anything hanging that's not supposed to be. Next, we're going to unlock the entrance door. We're going to walk into the bus, walk all the way to the end of the bus, unlock the rear door, and take the bus empty sign out. Now we're going to check underneath the hood. So we're going to check our fluids. There are 5 fluids underneath the hood. We have 3 on this side and 2 on the other. The 3 on this side that we're checking is the engine oil, the transmission fluid, and our power steering fluid. To check the fluid levels accurately, you're going to take the dipstick out completely, wipe it clean, and then stick it back in. And you're going to look and make sure that the level is in between the minimum and the maximum. And there's plenty of oil in that. So now we have our transmission fluid. You would pull that out, check it the same way. So we check it in the morning when it's not running, just to make sure that there is some fluid on the dipstick. To check the transmission fluid accurately, you would have to have the bus running and on level ground. Next here we have our power steering fluid. And this is a sight glass, so we can tell that it's in between the minimum and the maximum just by looking at it. We don't have to pull any dipsticks out. Next, we're going to check everything from the top all the way to the bottom. So we're going to start with all of our electrical lines, making sure they're not broken or frayed, and they're all there and intact. We're going to check our hoses, make sure that they are all secure, they're not broken or cracked, and then we're going to work our way down. This is the power steering column, which is connected to the gearbox, and the gearbox is connected to the pitman arm. And we're also going to check our leaf springs. So we have our 2 leaf springs there. They're connected in the front and then the back. They're both there, not missing, broken, or cracked. Next we have our shock absorber. We're going to make sure it's connected on the top and on the bottom, making sure that it's secure and it's not leaking. Next, we're going to check our brake hose. So this is our brake hose. We're going to make sure it's not broken or cracked, and we're also going to listen to make sure we don't hear any hissing sounds, which would indicate a leak. The brake hose is connected to the brake cam, which is right here. We're going to make sure it's secure, intact. We have our 2 slack adjuster pins right there. We're going to make sure that they are both there. We do not adjust them. We have our mechanics adjust them if needed. And then next we're going to just check the back of the tire to make sure that there are no gouges or cuts. Now we're going to check this side of the hood the same way we checked the other side. We're going to start with our fluids. We have our coolant here and our windshield washer fluid, and we can see that they are both full. Next we're going to check all of our hoses, make sure that they are connected. Then we're going to come down here and check our belt. So we're going to give that a little tug to make sure that there's no more than 3/4 of an inch play. And then we're going to come over here to our brake system. Our hose, we're going to listen to make sure that there's no hissing sound, indicating an air leak. Our brake cam is secure. We have our 2 slack adjuster pins right there. We have our shock absorber. It's not leaking in the middle, it's connected on the top and the bottom. We have our leaf springs running from the front to the back, and they're both there, not broken or cracked. And we have the back of the tire. There's no gouges or cuts. And that's everything under the hood. Now we're going to do our air brake test. So in order to start our air brake test, we need to make sure that we have a fully charged air system at 125, which we do. So we're going to go ahead and put our foot on the service brake and release the parking brake. We're going to count for 1 minute. And then if you want to come up here, you can see the gauges. We're making sure that it did not drop any more than 2 psi's in that initial first minute. And that's after the initial air loss, which we didn't. So now I'm going to just stab my brake once to bring it down to 90 psi's, and we're going to count for another minute. For this minute, we're going to make sure that the air loss is not greater than 3 psi's, which it is not. At this point in your air brake test, you're going to, if you want to look at my foot, we're going to stab the brakes down and we're going to leak the air out of the system. At 60 psi, the alarm sounds, and at 20 psi, the parking brake is going to pop. And there it is. So now we're going to turn our bus on, and then we're going to take the speed control up. Let all of our dials reset. Start the bus. Push your speed control button, and then push the toggle up to bring it up to normal operating RPMs. So normal operating RPMs for this bus is about 1500. So now we're going to watch our pressure rise. We're going to start counting at 85, and it has to reach 100 within 45 seconds. So we're about 85, so we're going to start counting. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And it reached 100 within that 45 seconds. And now we're just going to wait for the cutout at 125. And there it is. So we have a fully charged air system now. I'm going to take the speed control off. And now we're going to check our parking brake. So this is our parking brake. We know that it's on because it popped. I'm going to put the bus into drive, and I'm going to give it a little gas just to make sure that parking brake is holding the bus. And I'll put it back into neutral. And another way to check your brakes before you leave is to drive the bus at 5 miles per hour, make sure your wheels are straight, and firmly apply your service brake and make sure the wheel does not pull from one direction or the other. And that concludes our air brake test. Now we're going to check 5 things in the rear. Just like there are 5 fluids, there are 5 things that you need to check out back. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our headlights on and just check your crossover mirrors to make sure that they're on. You're going to put your 4-ways on, also check in the front to make sure that they are working. And then next we're going to put our ambers on. So we got to make sure our masters are on, and then push the same button to activate our ambers. Then we're going to put our bus into reverse. The 5 things we're checking for, there's 2 sounds and 3 lights. The 2 sounds are the reverse backup sound and the door alarm sound. Then we have our 3 lights. So we have our reverse lights, our amber lights, and our 4-ways. We're going to check them on both sides, making sure that they are working. Okay, I hear the reverse backup sound, the door alarm. I'm checking my ambers. Both sides are working. I'm checking my 4-ways. They are working. Now we're going to check everything on the inside of the bus, starting with the bottoms of the seats. So you're gonna give it a little tug on every seat, making sure that they are not loose all the way down to the back of the bus. So you're gonna check all those bottom seats. When you get to the back, you're going to turn around and you're going to check the tops of the seats. So you're just gonna give them a little push to make sure that they are secure. And we're going to stop at every emergency exit. So we're gonna take the roof hatch completely off, making sure that we can hear the alarm sound and that it comes off completely, and then we're gonna put it back on. Then we're gonna check all 4 of the emergency windows. We just lift the handle, hear the door alarm, push the window all the way open to making sure that it works properly, which it does. So we check all 4 emergency exits in the bus and both roof hatches. So we just check the tops of the seats, continuing all the way down back to the front of the bus. Then we're going to stop right here. We're gonna check all of our emergency equipment. First, we're gonna start with our first aid kit, making sure that it is secure, sealed, which it is. Our camera unit is on. Our fire extinguisher is in the green, signed for the month, and also has a seal. Our bodily fluid kit is sealed and it's secured to the school bus. In this compartment, we have our fire blanket right here. Not all school buses have fire blankets, but this one does. We're gonna check our insurance and registration, our service sticker, checking to make sure that we're not past the mileage, which we're not. We're gonna check the inspection sticker, which is good. It's not due till November. We have our 3 triangles, and it's secured to the bus. So we have our 3 triangles there. And our 2 chalk blocks, which are also secure in the bus. Next, we're going to sit in our seat. We have our crossover mirror. It's not broken or cracked, and it's adjusted properly. We have our flat mirror on the top. We want to make sure it's adjusted properly, it's not broken or cracked, along with our convex mirror. We're going to check our windshield, making sure it's not broken or cracked. There's no illegal stickers. We have our wiper blades. We're going to make sure that they are both not broken or cracked or frayed. We have our crossover mirror on the other side, making sure it's adjusted properly. No cracks, looks good. Then we're going to come over to our other top flat mirror, making sure it's not broken or cracked and adjusted properly. We have our convex mirror, making sure it's not broken or cracked and adjusted properly. Then we're going to come down to our side panel over here. We're going to check all of the switches on high and low. So we have our heater working on low and high. We have our driver dome light. We're just going to make sure it's working, which it is. We have our interior dome lights, and we just check our crossover mirror and our student mirror, and making sure that all 6 are working, which they are. Then we're going to come down here to our defrost fan working on low and high. Our other defrost fan working on low and high. Our step heater working on low and high. And then we have another back heater working on low and high. Then we're going to come over here and check our steering wheel. So we're going to give it a little tug, making sure that the play is not greater than 2 inches or 10 degrees. Then we're gonna check our wiper blades and our fluid. We want to make sure the fluid comes out, which it does. Perfect. Then we're gonna give the horn a honk, making sure that that works. All of our dials look okay. I don't have the bus on, so that's why you're gonna see the battery light. Okay, next we're gonna check our seat belts, making sure there's no cuts or frays, and we're gonna make sure that it connects into the seat belt properly. We have our seat belt cutter. And then we're gonna work our way outside of the bus. So you wanna make sure you have your left blinker on, which we do, and the door open, which we do. We can tell because our red lights are on. Now I'm doing this video with the bus off for recording purposes so you can hear me. So we're gonna exit the bus. We're gonna make sure that the handrails are secure, the stairs are clean, our door light is working, and we're gonna check our doors to make sure that they're not loose. Now we're going to check everything on the outside of the bus, starting from the top with our clip light and working our way down. So we're gonna check the mirror mounts, making sure that they are secure. We're gonna come to our tire. We're gonna check the tread, making sure it's evenly worn. And the tread on the front is 4/32. We're gonna check all around the tire. We're gonna check the rim, making sure it's not rusted, there's no cracks. We're gonna check all of our lug nuts, making sure that they're all in place. You don't see any shinies or rust indicating looseness. And then you're gonna check your hub. This one is grease fitting, some are oil fitting. The oil ones, you can see the oil level. We just wanna make sure that it's not leaking. We're gonna check for any cracks, gouges around the tire, and making sure that there's no recaps on the front tires. We're gonna make sure all of our lights are working. Our mirror mount is secure. Our crossing arm is secure. Now we're gonna check the bus in a box. We're gonna start with our low beam, working our way up to our red flashing lights, our 3 clip lights and antenna, our other red warning light. We're gonna come down to our low beam and our blinker, our number, our license plate, and back to where we started. Just checking all of the lights, making sure that they're all working, and just checking a box. Now we're gonna come over to our mirror mount, making sure it's secure. And we're gonna check to make sure our blinker is working over here, which it is. And we're gonna check this tire the same way we check the other tire. Tire tread, making sure it's evenly worn, making sure it's 4/32 on the front, making sure that there's no rust or cracks around the rims. All of our lug nuts are in place. There's no leaks coming from the hub. We have our valve stem and cap. And there's no gouges or recaps on the front tires. And we're gonna come to the top, making sure our clip light works. Our mirror mount is secure. Our antenna is intact. We're gonna come down to our battery box. We're gonna open it. We're gonna check the terminals, making sure that there's no corrosion on the top, and give the shelf a little tug to make sure it's secure. Next, we're gonna check everything from the top to the bottom. making sure that there's no fog in the first two windows. Our stop arm is fully extended, making sure that all four lights are working, which they are. Our blinker, and continuing to check tops and bottoms for the damage. We're gonna stop here, make sure our clip light's working, and our marker. Now we're gonna check underneath the bus. So you're gonna come down here, you're gonna check across to your rear tire, making sure that there's no leaks coming from the wheel seal. We have our drive shaft on this side, making sure all our hangers are in place. Those are our air tanks up front. And continuing to check up and down for damage. Now we're gonna check our rear duals. We're gonna give the inner dual a kick to make sure it's not deflated. We're gonna check the tire tread, making sure that it's 2 30-seconds on the rear, evenly worn. We're gonna check to make sure that there's no rust or cracks around the rims, making sure all of our lug nuts are there, secure, no indications of looseness. We have our outer valve stem and cover, and we're gonna check to make sure our inner valve stem and cap are in place, which they are. We're gonna give our mud flap a little kick to make sure it's secure, and again, checking up and down for any damage. Then we have our rear clip light and marker. We're gonna give our exhaust a little kick to make sure it's secure. And we're gonna check the rear lights just like we did in the front, like a box. You got your running light, your license plate light, running light, blinker, red warning light, 3 red clip lights, red warning light, running light, number light, running light. And then now you're going to check to make sure your door opens and locks in place in case of an emergency. And you're gonna check up and down the aisles, making sure that there's nothing there that's not supposed to be. All right, now we're gonna move along and check this side the same way we check the other side. Clip light, marker, checking for damage. We have our fuel cap, making sure it's secure. Checking up and down. We're gonna check this tire the same way we check the other one. Start with making sure it's evenly worn, both tires, and making sure that the tire tread is 2 30-seconds or more on the rear. You're gonna check this tire the same way you check all the other ones, making sure that there's no rust or cracks around the rims, making sure all your lug nuts are in place, and that there's no indication of looseness. You have your outer valve stem and cover, and you have your inner valve stem and cover. Checking up and down again, we have our clip light and our marker, and we're going to check underneath again, checking the opposite tire, making sure that there's no leaks coming from the wheel seal. On this side, you're going to see your exhaust pipe. Make sure that there's nothing hanging that's not supposed to be, nothing leaking. And again, checking for damage and fog in the first 2 windows. Now we're gonna put our right blinker on and our high beams on. Okay, now we have our high beams on along with our right blinker. So we're just gonna check in a box like we did earlier to make sure that everything's still working as it was, including the high beam and the right blinker. So we have our high beam, right blinker, red warning light, 3 clip lights, antenna, other red warning light. Coming down, our high beam's working, our number's still there, and our license plate is still there. Now we're gonna come along this side, making sure that our right blinker's working here. Our right blinker's working here. And we're gonna check the back to make sure all of our lights are working out back. Running light, license plate light, running light, red warning light, 3 clip lights, red warning light, our right blinker now, our running light, number light's still working, and our running light's still working. And now I'm going to check our brakes. I'm gonna give the driver a thumbs up. Our service brakes lights are working. And that concludes our pre-trip. So when you're checking your brakes by yourself, you can back it up to something to see the reflection of the red lights to make sure your brake lights are working.